Okay, well, when I was here last year and I stood before you, I gave you a list of 4 strategic goals that I wanted to see the agency succeed with. And those strategic goals, I kind of want to review how we did on most of them. And I want to say we did pretty well. If I had to grade it, I would say we're in the A- column. The year's not over yet, so we're going to get a little bit further on that. So I want to go over those first, and I'm going to talk about the projects that we'd like to work on for this year. So the first goal we had was improve trust and relationships. And the objectives to reach that goal, we tried to go with a couple of things. One of our biggest ones was to get a social media page going. And with the help of Karen, we started up a department Facebook page. And the intent there was to give information about the department, to talk about different lost items, a PR page, also putting out, be on the lookout for certain things. And that's been pretty successful. So one of the ways we started to go, at least giving back to the community and improving our professional service, is by having that social media page. And one of the other ways, the golf cart registration. Okay, that was a biggie. What was happening was every beginning of December, we're getting deluged by everybody wanting to register their golf carts in addition to the new ones. So what Elizabeth did, what we all did, was worked out a program where, say, the club now gave us all the registrations in November. Some of the other cart companies, some of the other rental companies spread it out so that everybody didn't show up at the beginning of November. So we're starting to show, again, and that whole improvement, how we want to build our trust back with the community and ways we're trying to improve that trust and try to get some of these things out. We want to have more increased visibility. We were able to do that with our bicycle patrols, with our increased park, walk and talk. The weather obviously has kind of put a kibosh on a lot of that. And the fact that we do not have a large population right now. So you'll see people out on the bicycles, but as the weather gets a little nicer and we start seeing more people come to the island, we'll start seeing a lot more bike patrols. We've also taken part in a lot of community events, the 5K races, the Badwater race, which again, we know is coming up next month. And we had a very good presence for that. So it's our way of getting back into the community. So that was the first goal. We fell short in a couple different things. What I wanted to do was work on a Citizens Academy. I spoke to a lot of the volunteers about that, and everybody's really for it. We had a couple things up and running about different classes we could put on, and then COVID hit again, and then the whole thing about you can't have everybody in one building. So that we're working on. It's a continuation for next year. Now, here's the good one, okay? The DPS, Department of Public Safety's operational capacity, resiliency, and readiness to meet dynamic mission requirements. Well, we all know how that worked out. Okay. When I stood here last year, I talked about how we are the best insurance policy you hope you never need. November, it was time to cash in. And as far as the operational capacity, as far as what we're doing, I'm going to get into it in a few minutes with the ladder truck, because that's something that everybody is talking about. And that was a direct result of that fire, the Lighthouse Landing fire. So what we've done to try to meet those goals is we actually set up communication with the municipalities for mutual aid, which obviously worked out pretty well. And having partnerships with the state, local, municipal agencies also, again, came to fruition when we had that fire, because all these things we had set up did work out pretty well. We were able to look into and complete a pay increase for our part-timers. We've added one additional part-timer, which kind of takes a little bit of the stress off our crews, because when I get into certain staffing recommendations and financing issues, we got killed by COVID. We had an overtime budget that Zach has continuously reminded me about. I don't even care about, not that I don't care about it anymore, but I really can't be worrying about it because we've gone way past where we should be. A lot of it having to do with COVID. And believe me, I'm keeping an eye on it, but it's a real headache to work with. One of the other things we were able to do, and this was with your help, was get the money together for a new creek boat. Right now, it's ready. It's sitting over at Southport Marina. We are waiting to get it striped, and we should have that operational within the next month. And we're going to be training on it, and we'll have it out there just in time for the increased traffic on the creek and being able to enforce some more creek violations and just basically being out there on patrol and having people see us knowing we're out there. We are continuously looking at new technology, looking into grant funding. So these are all part of that strategic goal number 2. Number three, I'm gonna start speeding up. But anyway, number three was investing in the DPS workforce. We've done that too, depending on the, because as Judy was talking about, our investment is coming because a lot more people are encouraged, or have been encouraged rather, to take advantage of the tuition reimbursement. And as Chris talked about, they are looking to expand their professional careers, professional development, career development. So that seems to be working out pretty well. And what also was done was increased our training hours. After that Lighthouse Landing fire, I talked about all the training that we've done really not built us up for that fire, but there was no hesitation. Everybody knew exactly what job they had to do, and that was because of all the training that we do. Last year, January to December, as far as fire training, we put in, just for a number of hours, 5,387 hours. Now, each person is required to have at a minimum of 36 hours to keep their firefighter certification. We exceeded that immensely with this amount of hours, and the same thing with law enforcement. So we're really working on that. We're working on our specialized training. And again, with Chris's help and with your approval, we were able to create a law enforcement captain position. So that is another thing that invested in our DPS workforce. And that took care of strategic goal number three. Number four, department-wide accountability. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit too. A lot of the stuff I'm seeing with the strategic goals is leading into some of the projects I'm trying to work on, and hopefully we can get accomplished. But the department-wide accountability, big word there is body cameras. Okay, how are we going to stay accountable? How are we going to stay transparent? And that's really through the use of body cameras and dashboard cameras. Quick recycling. Okay. Everybody wants to know what's happening with the ladder truck. All right, to this time, about this time, the Public Safety or Public Service Auxiliary has gotten $429,000 earmarked for that ladder truck. I sent a quick memo out to Chris and also to Cam, and I think Mayor Quinn, you also saw that, what progress we have made since the Lighthouse Landing fire. I'll just give you a quick rundown for those of you that haven't seen this. We've looked at probably six different manufacturers, 75-foot ladder, 79-foot ladder, 107-foot ladder, 75-foot ladder, up and down, up and down. A lot of people are asking, well, do you need a 75-foot ladder or a 100-foot ladder? And the question remains, what's going to happen here in 25 years? The current ladder truck we have now is a 1996 ladder truck. It was bought brand new. It's 50 feet in length. That's it. And we saw the problems, the shortcomings we had that Lighthouse Landing fire. Reason I'm really leaning towards a 100-foot ladder truck is the fact that we're probably going to have this truck for another 25 years. That extra 25 feet, obviously between 75 and 100, could mean a big thing. It could mean a lot, especially if we have something where we have to get over trees, or we have the dorms, or we do eventually, maybe not in our time here, but eventually go 4 stories, 5 stories. We need something to meet that capability, and somebody's going to say 20 years from now, but you had the opportunity to buy this 100-foot ladder truck. Why didn't you buy it? So we kind of leaned towards that, and we just actually completed the request for proposal today, which I'll be sending to Zach so he can give it the once over to make sure that everything is legitimate and we can put that out for bid. One of the other issues we're looking at, and why we're kind of having to spend a lot of time on this, we can't buy a floor model. Okay, because we have that 12-foot canopy, because we have special roads here, we have to get something custom made. Now, I had the opportunity, just was on a little family visit. I was out in San Antonio, and they have single axle trucks. They have dual axle trucks. We were going back and forth. We cannot get a dual axle truck, because if we get a dual axle truck, any turn we make is going to rip up the roadway. And then JP is going to be behind me cursing me out, saying he's got to fill in all these potholes. So we kind of want to avoid that. We looked at one specific company that is doing a lot of work with with the city of Boston. They have low limits as far as their tunnels go. They have very tight turns, but they also have a lot of cobblestone streets, and they're running into that same problem. They got to go with a single axle truck. So we spent a lot of time with a company called E1, and I'm not saying that's going to be our final one, but they seem to be very receptive and are going to work with us about how tall this ladder truck has to be. Right now, we're looking at an 11 feet 4 inch height, travel height. Give us about maybe 6 inches of room, 7 inches of room, because if a backhoe goes down the street at a 13 or 14 foot length and knocks out a couple limbs, not a big deal. Ladder truck goes down, knocks out a couple limbs, we lose the ladder truck because we have to send it off for inspection. So we are very, very aware of what this height's going to have to be. Unfortunately, since we can't buy a demo, can't get a truck tomorrow. Right now, we're getting a build time of anywhere from 18 to 24 months. So that's 2 years. That's a long time. The ladder truck we have now, it's not bad, okay? It's not a situation where it's deteriorated to the point where we can't use it, but it's time that we do need something new. And that was made very evident at that lighthouse.
So could you so help me understand,
Sure.
what happened during that fire that made it evident that the truck, I mean,
Okay, there's a whole bunch of different things that have to happen for that ladder truck to be operational. And this is one of the other specifications we were looking at. They're the outriggers, and it's called jack spread. So when the ladder goes up, the truck has to be balanced. And what happened was, if it's not balanced properly, we don't get a green indicator light. If the green indicator, it's an interlock system. If the green indicator light doesn't come on, the ladder doesn't go up. So between the maneuvering and putting boards under it and making sure it goes to a certain length, if we don't get that green light, we're spending 2, 3, 4, et cetera, minutes trying to raise that ladder. It's a pumper. It's got water capabilities. We can get water on it. The intent was, because it's a stick ladder with a nozzle on the end of it, we really wanted it to be up at a certain point so we could spray a stream, and that way we can get water on whatever we're looking to do. But that's why we want to go a little bit higher. And we also, the trucks we looked at have that capability that if it's off balance, the truck will adjust for it. This truck, the technology is not there.
right, okay, got it. And okay, so the 75 versus 100 feet.
Length,
Right,
that's the other issue. The length between the 75-foot and the 100-foot truck is only a couple feet, right? The ladder truck we have now is 34 feet in length. Okay, but again, it's only a 50-foot ladder truck. The one we're looking at, it's a 100-foot ladder, and it's 39 inches in length, 39 feet in length. So we're talking about another 5 feet.
okay.
Now, that's going to be interesting on our turns. So there's going to be a lot of training involved. Some of the questions came up as, are you going to be able to get down every street? There may be 1 or 2 streets where it's just going to be difficult to make it down. We may have to back it in. It may take a little longer than necessary. The plan is, when we finally do get this, we're going to hit every single street and just walk down the street in front of the truck and see what the clearance is. There's going to be a lot of training involved, okay, as far as how this truck is going to work. Because again, this is a very expensive investment. We want it to last for 25 years. So.
I have one for you, Alan. I'm not going to argue against the 100-foot truck. I'm for a 100-foot truck.
Right.
I would rather you not have taller buildings as your argument of why you want to have. It's something that, people fight back just because of that. And so I think we need a 100-foot truck to so you have the height and span of your strength. Just let's keep the argument where it is.
Okay. I'll work with that.
I've shared that. Alan and I have had those conversations. So
I've been stubborn about it. All right. I'm just.
I can't
Because I'm in
see, I
support
can't
of that.
see that
I'm in
change happening.
support of the 100-foot too.
But that's somebody's good.
That's sort of what the expectation is from the people that made those donations all along.
Right.
So that's really what we have right now is the different types of ladders we looked at, anywhere from 75, to summarize it, 75 to 109 feet. There's, again, so many different things, so many different manufacturers. Do we buy a Ford? Do we buy a Chevy? Everybody's got their pros and cons. What we have to really concentrate on, are we going to have the one for the height? Are we going to have the one for the proper jack spread? Are we going to have the single axle? And is it going to have everything we want? So that's where we are left with that. Any other questions about the truck? This is also a very contentious issue, and these are certainly, like I said, these are some of the projects I'm trying to talk about. Right now, we are carrying, every single officer in our agency is carrying a .40 caliber Smith & Wesson M&P pistol. The history behind this is kind of interesting, okay? Just going to a real quick story. When I first started in law enforcement, we were carrying revolvers. That all changed in 1986. The FBI got involved in a shootout in Miami where they were trying to apprehend a couple bank robbers, and they had warrants for them. They were outgunned. The FBI agents had .357 revolvers. The individuals they were trying to capture had massive firepower. Unfortunately, as a result of that raid, 2 FBI agents wound up getting killed. And the FBI started a huge study on why they think they needed bigger weapons. At that time, also, many law enforcement agencies were transitioning from revolvers to semi-automatics. So we can move forward one, please. We went back and forth on this. I kind of wanted to give you a whole story about why we need to do it, but I think really the bottom line is, if we want to transition, what's it going to cost? What's the bottom line? Okay. Right now, the Glock 45 9mm pistol, and I'll go into why we should go with this, okay, is that price, $12,885. We've got holsters, that also adds up, and we're at $16,000, but we would trade these ones out here. We got a price of $225 per. So we're coming up with a total of $9,885 rounded up to $10,000. Now, what's encouraging about this is a lot of money, not really. We can also get a grant. And I'm investigating a couple things. The Governor's Crime Commission grant, which comes out every November, is putting up a lot of money, a couple $1 million towards the purchase of firearms. So that's one area where I will heavily investigate. But I kind of wanted to put this project out there because it's something we really want to get involved with. Now, why are we doing it? We shoot better. Simple as that, okay? Previous agency I was with, I oversaw a transition from the 40 calibers to the 9mm, and I saw that everybody shot a lot better. We got to shoot what we aim at. We got to shoot. The whole point is, people think law enforcement has the mission shoot to kill. Okay, we don't shoot to kill. We shoot to stop the threat. Okay, that's a big myth. We don't shoot to kill. We shoot to stop the threat, but we also want to hit what we're shooting at. And there's a financial aspect in this too. If you look at the prices, we go through a lot of rounds of ammunition, whether it's practicing, which we do a lot. Okay, back up one. Nope. How come?
You're talking about the money.
Yeah, that's it right now. You're killing me. Back up one. Right there.
Next slide.
One up.
One more?
No, other way.
The other
Other
one.
way.
Yeah.
There, stop.
There we go. All right, I'll point to it. Okay. 14 cents a round, 20 cents a round. Okay, that's 6 cents a round. Each box of rounds is 50 rounds. So it's $3 a box. We buy it by the case. That's 20 cases. So, all right, $60, it starts to add up. And again, we're not advocating the fact that we carry more rounds in our gun. Okay, we're not going to look at spraying and praying. We want to be able to hit what we shoot at. But what's happening is with the FBI studies and with a lot of different agencies, they didn't do this just by themselves. They find they're better and more accurate shooting a 9mm versus a 40 caliber. They have transitioned to 9mm. Previous agency I worked at, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, they just ordered 1,500 9mm firearms. They're also transitioning from the 40 caliber to the 9mm. It's the way a lot of agencies are going.
I don't disagree with any of this, but I'm just curious, how many shots are actually fired, not in training the last couple of years?
None, which is good. Okay, but when it comes to the point where if it does happen, what'd you say?
They were,
You didn't miss a thing.
they were accurate.
Right, 100%. Okay, but the training is very important. The history of the weapons, what they've got here, I couldn't go past 1998 because nobody's here since 1998. But they've stayed with 40 calibers the whole time because the big push was to go to a bigger, larger capacity round. So Glock, SIG, Smith, again, Ford, Chevy, everybody's got their pros and cons. What we're looking at is commonality for the training. One of the nice things is if we do decide, if we go through with the switch, it's not going to involve a lot of extra training. All it's going to involve is transition over different nomenclature on the firearm, going from 40 caliber to a 9mm. But the training, everything else is going to be the same. And I can personally attest, I shoot a lot better with a 9mm than a 40. And a lot of the people in the agency do too. Next, please. I talked about the FBI shootout, what their transition was, how they spent the money. The big question is, okay, a 40 caliber round is a lot bigger than a 9mm round. Isn't it going to cause more damage? Well, not really, because again, they did their studies based on ballistic gels, what the projectile looked like when it actually struck something. And if you can take it up another one, okay. What's the most important factor? They use a 12 to 18 inch depth when they are looking at ballistic gel. One more. Okay. Take me up one more, please. Oh, wait. When you look at a slide like this, I know it looks weird, okay, but I'll kind of go through a couple of these. This is the 9mm round. Here's the ballistic gel. What they look at is wound tracks. What they look at is penetration tracks. You can see, even though it looks a little bigger, this is 357, this is a 45, okay, it is still causing the same amount of damage. So when they tried to do a study on this to see how much damage is going to be caused by all the different rounds, they found out the wound tracks are there's not a big noticeable difference. So we want to, again, now take me back up one because I want to show you what the most important one is. That's a frightening statistic, okay? And we're working on it. We practice a lot, okay? But the biggest problem is when you are involved in any type of confrontation, your target is not a paper target 2 feet away from you standing still at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, okay? So when you're firing 13, 14 rounds, the bad thing is 70 to 80% of those rounds miss. So the smaller the round, the less damage it could possibly cause. They've done a study on what an average gun battle is. Okay, anywhere between 9 and 15 feet, 2.5 to 3.5 seconds. The minute I just brought that statistic out, this gun battle's over. So we want to make sure with all the training we do, that if that situation does arise, we are able to meet the challenge. Got one? Okay. One more, please. So that's really the thing about the one project about the firearms transition. I think it's a good idea. I think everybody in the agency is very, very much in favor of it. The funding is not going to be great. It'd be even better if we can get the grant, but when the budget time comes around, that may be something in the process. Right now, our body cameras is another project we're working on. We're carrying a company called WatchGuard. This platform was purchased about 3.5 years ago. The current process most agencies are working with is they're going with leasing, because the leasing, you buy something technology based, the minute you buy it, it's outdated. What's happening with our body cameras right now, we can get pictures off them, we can get video off them, but it is a little outdated and we're looking to increase the technology. A couple of different companies we're looking at and why it's such a good idea is the transparency, the fact that we can have instant access to it. Right now, if something happens and I've got to be able to get the body camera footage, I physically have to come into the agency and I have to pull it off our computer. The two companies we're looking at, it's going to be cloud-based. I can access it from home. If somebody has questions about it, either me or one of the other two captains has instant access to it and we can review it and answer questions instead of having to come back to the island and pull it off the computer. Now, we've looked at two different companies. And those are just basically all the good reasons why we need body cameras, and the fact that every agency has gotten to them. We kind of narrowed down between Axon and WatchGuard. Those are the two big companies right now. We have WatchGuard. Those are the ones we own. We're in heavy duty talks with Axon as far as body cameras, as far as dash cameras, seamless integration, and over a 5-year period, same thing with the leasing, Axon was coming in at $107,000. Now, we broke that up over 5 years, so it's about $21,000 a year. And again, the cost is $21,000 a year. Okay, that sounds like a lot of money, but Axon takes care of the storage. Axon takes care of everything else in an offsite system on the cloud. How much is that going to save us if we get sued? Okay, that's the bottom line. All right, we're going to have video evidence. And again, looking back at what I showed earlier, the majority of body cameras have saved agencies, even though the initial outlay is quite a bit, has saved agencies a lot of money as far as legal costs, any type of future litigation. But we kind of had a last minute play with a different company, WatchGuard, who we have now. Remember I said Axon's price was $107,000. Okay. Surprisingly, WatchGuard came in at $52,000, and that's also over a 5-year period. So we're considerably cheaper. The only difference between Axon and WatchGuard is the same leasing system. It's the same platform. WatchGuard was purchased by Motorola, so they've got a little bit more technology. And the only downside with the WatchGuard body camera, which is not really a downside, they don't have a thing called ShotSpotter on it. And what ShotSpotter does is if you are anywhere in the vicinity of a shot being fired, a loud backfire, your body camera is automatically going to deploy and it'll turn on, and everybody else, any other officer in the area, their body camera also gets activated. That's kind of something negligible. A lot of people do prefer Axon because it's been a tested company. They've been around a lot longer. However, $107,000 versus $52,000, I think we're kind of leaning towards that $52,000 range. Okay, move on, please. That's good. One more project. We do not have an online system as far as our policies, as far as our management systems. A lot of it is paper, a lot of it is being kept in files. The intent here is to actually have something retrievable so that at any given time, we can find out what someone's training records are. Our policies will be online. Everyone can access them on their phones via an app. And this is a relatively new company. When I went to one of the conferences, they've come out with this policy. What makes us unique, not policy, the system rather. What makes us unique is we are 3 disciplines, okay? Law enforcement, fire, and EMS. And they told me that they can put all 3 different policies and guidelines into one system, which kind of makes things very attractive. Any types of updates, any types of revisions will immediately be available on an app. Another nice little thing about this particular policy, this particular platform, everybody's driver's license gets checked by a DMV database every night. So people within the agency, if something happens, if the driver's license expired, we'll get a 30-day notice. Hey, look, your driver's license is coming up for expiration. It's time to renew it. It kind of keeps us in check. Also, if something does something kind of off the reservation, so to speak, and drives 50 miles an hour and winds up getting a ticket for a traffic misdemeanor or even a traffic felony, we'll know about it. And that way they can't say, well, we didn't know about it. So this is one of the interesting things about the system, but we want to put a policy together online. We want to get away from the loose leaf notebook. It's something I've talked to Judy about. We could also possibly partner with them for the village policies that they can have access to it. So it's kind of a collaborative effort.
Chris, would this be like a brand new infrastructure, or do we have this in every other discipline? The training, the records, the whole HR stuff, where this would be married in, or do we have to start something brand new from scratch?
This would, Judy, we wouldn't be able to marry this into the existing, what we have in HR. This would be something completely separate.
What Alan's talking about?
Yeah.
Well, first question is, do we have one in HR? It didn't even dawn on me when you were talking, so I apologize. It just dawns on me. Right, most companies have an HR policy, everything's online. What courses people are trained in are online. When they're due for training, it's out to them that they have to go take this course. Do we have something like that in HR for our people?
So we don't have anything that's consolidated, so the policies I'll be working with, informs, all of that, we've just recently gotten onto the cloud. Karen has the new website up and running, so it's been a process for us, so that is on my goal to get that done. The training right now, I don't have, Cantola tracks that for me, so I get notification and I have on their dashboard, so, and then they send out notifications, so it's done that way, it's not all done in one central place.
So just like Alan's talking about, HR does the exact same thing. They build things to give the companies that do everything from soup to nuts. We don't have one of those things, which just sounds like something like what Alan's recommending for his group.
Right, I mean, we
Okay.
have ADP does our payroll, right, and we do have a benefits part, so for us, it's trying to figure out what is the most user-friendly platform for our employees, because you have to understand, we have some employees who only check their email and technology if their department head tells them. I mean, that's not how they live their lives. So, yes, it's, we do need them to get more acclimated that way, but the most important thing is for me to just get them the information that they need
So,
to know what's
no,
going
and I
on.
understand, I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
figuring out why it's not done. What I am poking a finger at is if we're not careful, when HR comes up to snuff with doing the same exact thing that you're doing, we're gonna end up with two different systems, two different infrastructures, and double the IT costs to maintain them. We're not picking up one that's gonna cover both.
so for Allen's though, he's talking about his policies that are just unique to that department. Right?
His
And then-
policies are, but not systems that cover policies that could be for different things. Usually companies don't have the system we're talking about for each different department. The policies and details are extremely different for every department. That's all
Fire and
housed
Police force
in-
either.
Was that?
The,
They don't have fire and police and.
the difference is gonna be, when I kind of talked to Judy about this, is HR policy, the village policy would probably be the only thing. Because one of the things we gotta be also concerned about is we have some very secure investigatory information, also some secure names and addresses that we don't want to make public of our employees. We have there's a privacy issue for our employees too. So we won't want to let that many people into this. And again, as Councilwoman Hill was talking about, police, fire, EMS is a whole different category. The actual cost of this is not prohibitive. Okay, I can give you a number, but we'll save that for the budget. It's, I don't want to
That's
tip,
tricky.
yeah, I don't want to tip the scale yet, but it's really not that bad. Okay, it's not thousands, well, it's thousands. Okay, but it's not in the tens of thousands of dollars. It's relatively cheaper than that. So it's something that when we get to the budget process, something that we'll really have to investigate. But I think, again, it's something that will bring everything together for us, at least, into one package.
It's just an IT strategy thing. It's actually not a public safety thing or an HR thing. It's an IT strategy thing of building a platform so that we don't start off with one, then we have two, then someone else has three. Before we know it, we're supporting 4 different platforms. It's an IT strategy statement is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's not the money. It's
No,
the
it's not the
strategy and
money.
structure.
It's
Yeah.
strategy and structure. Yeah, because on average, whatever you found that it costs, it's gonna cost 3 times that just to implement it, and then 1x that costs again to maintain it every year. So you don't want 4 of these things running. You want to have an IT strategy of how you're going to handle the entire thing.
Next, please. Something that Judy touched on, as far as salary incentives, we really at this point don't want to create a separate classification because we just don't really have any room in there to do it. But one of the things I was trying to lean towards, if you look on the bottom, we have 3 training officers in our agency who go way above and beyond as far as for law enforcement, as far as fire, and as far as EMS. So what we were trying to do is not to create a separate classification for them, but it is a budget issue, but I just wanted to kind of also put that out there, that we wanted to create a training officer bonus. Whereas Judy talked about cost of living, merit increase, even throwing another % on that, and not guaranteeing it every year. They have to work for it. It's not going to be, okay, you're the training officer, you're going to get an extra 2%. It's going to come at the end of the year when we say, okay, did you give us the bang for the buck? So it's not a guaranteed thing every year, but it's something I'm going to try to build into the budget. Advanced training certificates, same thing, additional bonuses, because there are people that work harder to get these training certificates. Law enforcement, there's 3 types of certification: general certification, intermediate certification, and advanced certification. It is a big deal when you pick up an advanced certificate because it's almost like getting a bachelor's degree. So that's something we want to recognize. Of course, we're looking at college degrees too. So there's different levels that we want to try to work in as far as any type of salary incentive. Next one. This is something, all the money, I'm spending a lot of money. I'm putting out a lot of money. This is something that can save us a lot of money. Okay, right now in Brunswick County, there is no video magistrate. We make an arrest, put them on a boat, take them across. Now we got to jump in the car and take them over to Bolivia. Our officer's gone for about 4 to 5 hours, depending on how crowded the jail is. The whole concept, the whole video magistrate concept is something right now being piloted by Leland. And what it is, we have the capabilities here, we have the facility here. We make an arrest on the island. If it's something that does not have to get an overnight stay in the jail. We go before the we go on the video before the magistrate, we lay out the probable cause, we raise our right hand, we tell him or her what the charge is. He says secured bond, unsecured bond, and that's it. You're free to go and do whatever else you do. That person gets released, and we have just saved 5 hours worth of time, paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. Again, it's gonna be for misdemeanor crimes, but it's a situation where we can save some serious money, and we're not gonna be losing 1 or 2 officers for the night. Now, it's not just a matter of getting, your iPhone out and going on FaceTime. There's a lot of paperwork that has to be done with the court, the administrative courts, the process, letters of memorandums of understanding. All these things are in the works. But the concept behind this could save us when we do make an arrest, when we do have a situation, if we need to get out a warrant or something like that, we don't have to send somebody to the courthouse. We can actually do it online and with the video magistrate.
And how often does that happen?
Arrests?
Well, arrests that you run them off to Bolivia.
Probably about 2 to 3 times every couple months. So we've the most recent one we made, we unfortunately, and again, as we get more crowded, we get a lot of DWIs rather. But we also get people with warrants. That's something we're gonna have to take them over, give it to the sheriff. But those type of arrests, they're happening every couple months, and the less time somebody spends off the island and over to the jail, it's better time on the island for us. And we don't go below our staffing.
Yeah, I guess the only things are jumping through my head, protocol. So you arrest somebody, you do the video magistrate, and you said, then we can let them go. I was like, well, I don't want you to do that. But I guess it's a judgment call all the time. It's like, no, this person has to be taken home, whatever.
The old story was you can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. In other words, giving them the ride kind of sticks it to them a little bit. When, hey, look, you're gonna get released, but at least you're gonna take a ride. We're gonna inconvenience you.
Gotcha.
Okay, because you committed a crime, you gotta pay a little bit. Now we gotta offset it. Okay, but what is it doing to our manpower, our staffing issues? So that's kind of the reason that we're leaning towards
I
it.
understand your reason. I was just trying to understand it, from my perspective too.
And there are situations, look, when somebody does something, if, a minor crime or something like that, they can get released, go back to doing what they're doing, and they stay on the island and we save 6 hours worth of time. Another area where there's gonna be money savings, not to you, but to the people on the island, our ISO, our insurance service organization, the ISO rating, we were notified. Currently, we were at a level 6. We've just gone down to a level 5. Well, we'll be getting that official letter. Unofficially, we're going down to a level 5. What does that mean for the people on the island? Commercial, it means a lot. Okay, their insurance rates, I can't give you a number, but the insurance rates for commercial properties will decrease when you go from a 6 to a 5. So they're going to see some type of insurance savings on this. What it also does is it shows our agency is becoming a lot more progressive. Those 5,700 hours of training, the additional training we've been able to do. If you've ever been behind the station, we have a blown up fire pump, fire hydrant. That's part of our training that adds to our ISO ratings. All the training we're doing has an effect on the ISO ratings. And what it's broken down into is basically what's our water supply. We have 152 hydrants on the island. Okay? Plus we have a lot of water around it too. All right, but the water supply we have here is very sufficient. That helps for our ISO rating. They do it based on points. How many people we have in the agency, what their training records are, what their personnel status is, how many fire officers we have, all adds up into the ISO rating. And the fact that our engines have to get tested and minimum of 36 hours of training every year, which we've exceeded incredibly. So this is all stuff that we're doing, obviously, for the benefit of the people in the agency and for the benefit of the village. We're looking to increase that ISO rating. Hopefully, we can go from a 5 to a 4. We're working on that. Obviously, a truck will make a big difference, but those are some of the things we're looking at. So we test everything. We are increasing our pre-planning where we're going out to buildings and we're saying, okay, how tall is the building? If we go here, what are we going to have to do? Where are the hydrants? Where are the connections? So all these things are part of our pre-planning, which also, when we go for an ISO inspection, they look at our pre-planning book and say, okay, you've got 40 commercial properties. Do you have pre-plans for all these? Yes, we do. Okay, that's good. More points. So that's the direction we're going in. So those are the 5 projects. Not a lot of money, but a lot of time. Any questions? I wanted to say they saved the best for last, but Zach goes after me, so I can't say that.
Yeah, the only other thing that, in my mind, so we talked about the truck, we talked about the cameras, guns, the magistrate, miscellaneous equipment, that'll show up in our budget meetings. I'm assuming you need other things.
Oh, yeah, that's part of the capital replacement program. So there's quite a few things too, but that's a budgetary issue. And it's just cost of doing business, I guess, would be the best way to talk about it.
We have that. Alan, Zach, myself have been working on that.
Okay, great. All right, good. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.